We're broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama, and we'll be back in 5 minutes, I hope.
NPR podcasts are now available on every major platform. Check out all our shows at npr.org/podcasts. That's npr.org/podcasts.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Speer. Washington State is filing a lawsuit against the Trump administration over its changes to the Title X family planning program. It's the first of several suits anticipated by Democratic-led states. Paige Browning of member station KUOW reports from Seattle.
The Title X rules would halt federal funding for Planned Parenthood or any clinic that refers patients for abortions. Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson says it will leave thousands of women without affordable access to reproductive care or cancer screenings.
The government should not tell patients what medical care is right for them. These sensitive decisions should remain between patients and their medical providers.
However, conservative religious groups hail the changes, saying the government shouldn't have involvement with clinics that provide abortions. For NPR News, I'm Paige Browning in Seattle.
R&B singer R. Kelly is free on bail after spending the weekend in jail. Attorney Steve Greenberg said today Kelly's ability to post bail was not affected by a child support case involving the singer because that is a civil matter. Greenberg at a news conference today reiterated he does not think Kelly's done anything wrong and said no one has shown him any evidence to the contrary. During a hearing earlier today in Chicago, Greenberg entered a not guilty plea on behalf of his client to 10 counts of aggravated sexual abuse involving 4 females, including 3 who prosecutors allege were underage at the time. Kelly was acquitted of child pornography charges in 2008. New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft is one of 25 men being charged with soliciting prostitution at a day spa in Jupiter, Florida. NPR's Greg Allen says the charges were announced today by the state attorney in Palm Beach County.
The charges grew out of an investigation involving a string of Florida day spas. Police have named hundreds of men as customers. In Palm Beach County, state attorney Dave Ehrenberg says Patriots owner Robert Kraft and 24 other men are being charged with first-degree misdemeanors, punishable by up to a year in jail. Ehrenberg says he hopes the arrest will raise awareness about human trafficking.
If you see something, say something, and maybe that's the good that can come out of all this. Maybe we'll have a new understanding of what human trafficking is and what it isn't.
Kraft faces 2 counts of soliciting prostitution because he made 2 visits to the day spa. One of them was on January 20th, hours before the Patriots played in the AFC Championship game. In a statement, the NFL said it's seeking an understanding of the facts and at some point will take appropriate action. Greg Allen, NPR News.
Search engine company Google says a plan to build a $600 million wind-powered data center in central Minnesota is in part tied to a request from the company. Officials provide a 20-year tax abatement. Minnesota Public Radio is reporting Google's requesting county and city officials for property tax breaks that could be worth as much as $15 million. State Public Utilities Commission is reviewing the company's request. Stocks gained ground on Wall Street. The Dow was up 60 points. The Nasdaq gained 26 points. This is NPR. The U.S. is warning airlines and pilots to use caution when flying to or over Venezuela because of civil unrest there. The Federal Aviation Administration says while there's no evidence to suggest the country's military would target civilian aircraft, FAA officials say mistakes are possible and are urging airlines to be cautious. Iraq says it will put on trial French suspected ISIS fighters captured in Syria rather than handing them over to France. NPR's Jana Raff has more.
Iraqi President Barham Saleh, on a visit to Paris, said French ISIS suspects will be put on trial in Baghdad. The 13 French nationals are part of more than 200 ISIS fighters handed over by U.S.-backed Syrian Kurdish forces to Iraq and the last remaining ISIS enclave in Syria. Saleh said after a meeting with the French president that Iraq will try ISIS fighters who committed crimes against Iraqis or Iraqi installations. His comment indicates a deal with the French government, which has been reluctant to take back the fighters. European countries in the past tried to prevent their citizens from being tried in Iraq, where forced confessions under torture and the death penalty are common. Jana Raff, NPR News, Erbil, in the Kurdistan region of Iraq.
The vote of a dead judge doesn't count. That's the ruling today from the Supreme Court, which said in an unsigned opinion federal judges are appointed for life, not for eternity. The case the High Court was ruling on involved a judge for the Ninth Circuit. He died March 29th of last year, was listed as the author of a decision issued 11 days after his death. The case centered around the Equal Pay Act. I'm Jack Speer, NPR News in Washington.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride, and I'm your hostess, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Lynda Quirino from Paranormal Survivor and Georgina Paranormal out of Georgina, Ontario, Canada. And as I've said, if you haven't been listening, she is on Paranormal Survivor as one of their paranormal experts, and she has been a lot of fun so far. And we're gonna test her now, and by asking her random questions from the lovely chat room. And one of the questions is from Gary from CC Paranormal, which is Caldwell County Paranormal Team in Caldwell County, Missouri. And he asks, what equipment does your team use?
It's interesting you should ask that, because we were talking about maybe adding to our repertoire, but we use pretty basic equipment. I mean, we have the usual K2s, we have our digital recorders, we have a spirit box, we have an SB7, thinking about getting an SB11, but not sure. A few of us have our own SB7s. Digital cameras, the usual stuff in terms of cameras. For instance, we have a lot of video cameras, different kinds, and we also use a Kinect every once in a while, kind of like an SLS, but the Kinect's been an interesting thing, especially if we do a public event, because people like to see things, and I don't know. It's we use a lot of very basic equipment, but we do have an assistant director who is clairvoyant, so that's a real asset to the team.
So do you use a clairvoyant on your team, mm-hmm. and have you always or just recently?
No, she's been with me since I formed the team in 2012.
Is she more a medium clairvoyant or a psychic or psychic medium?
She's more a medium clairvoyant. I mean, she can sense things way before anyone on the team. And she's our go-to person. If we know that there's something there and we can feel something, we capture something, maybe on an EVP or in a spirit box session, she's normally the one who's able to see and hear, being sort of clairvoyant, clairaudient, and often is able to help people deal with moving things on. She's our smudger too. She's very talented when it comes to picking up on spirit and dealing with that particular essence or energy in a home, moving it on, talking to it, finding out why it's there. Honestly, Chris is a real asset.
Hey, Kat, they're saying no to, somebody's saying no to sound. So, Ron, are we having sound over there? Okay, Ron's saying we have sound. Okay. So,
Not now. I'm on.
Okay.
On delay.
You're on a delay now? Okay. So, we have another question in chat, and it's from, it's from Rhodey, and she is with the Houston 5 Paranormal, unless that's changed, out of Houston, Texas. And she says, since you've been investigating for 30 years, I want to know if you used cassette tapes to record EVPs. And if yes, do you prefer cassettes or digital recorders?
You know, I started out in this field, we're talking in, the early 80s, with only cassettes, and I love cassettes. And only about 5 years ago, my old cassette recorder died, and I've been looking for another cassette recorder. I have a smaller cassette, one of those mini cassettes. I don't find them as effective as the big ones, but I love cassettes, and I'm looking for another one. I find that I have way more success with the old-fashioned cassette recorder than with the digitals. Digitals are great. I'm not, saying they're not, but yeah, you know what? I like cassettes way better.
I can see that. Have you ever used reel-to-reel?
I've never used a reel-to-reel, and I have one collecting dust under my house, so we have to take that out and try it.
So, I wish I could find an old reel-to-reel. So,
yeah, the one I had belonged to my dad, so it's really old, but I'm sure that would be a real asset.
So, when you talk about, when you were talking about having your clairvoyant on the team and about smudging, do you know what she uses for smudging? Her favorite? Does she use sage? Does she use Palo Alto? Does she use something else?
Primarily sage.
Okay.
Sage and sea salt. She has her own way of conducting that kind of ritual, which really works for her. And we've had nothing but success and great feedback from our clients. So honestly, Chris Shader is a very good asset to the team. I mean, she's excellent.
I always wonder about what people use because, sage has a antiseptic effect, kind of like Lysol.
It does.
And so, like, if you've been sick for a while, you can use sage as opposed to using Lysol.
Yes.
And of course, the thing about sage is it removes everything.
Yeah,
good,
that's
bad,
true.
indifferent. It just gets rid of everything. But, like Palo Alto, though, it will remove just the bad and keep the positive. So it's kind of like what is the preferred medium for the medium? Sweetgrass. So is she using sweetgrass after she uses the sage to bring in the positive? So I'm just asking. I don't know.
No, it's very interesting because I know she uses primarily sage, and within the ritual, she does very specifically and clearly indicate to whatever is there that the bad needs to leave, but the good can actually remain. So she's had great luck with that. She's had amazing success. So whatever she's doing is fabulous. And I do know that she does use the, what was it called again? Palo Santo?
Alto.
Yeah.
Palo Alto wood.
Yes.
It's just, and it's not very expensive.
No.
But a lot of people will use sage and then they'll use sweetgrass afterwards.
Right.
To set intent.
There is a combination too, and I've seen that as well.
And then there's also cedar, and then you've got frankincense and myrrh and holy water. I mean, there's so many things that you can use to smudge a house.
And you know what, Denise? I'm a true believer in the intention. I mean, honestly, I've met people in the field in all these years that have said to me, I don't use anything but, let's say, holy water, or I don't use anything but bay leaves, but it's my intention that truly sets the tone for the cleansing, and it's my intention that brings about the desired effect. So I can see that too.
Yep. And I believe that as well, because my intention is going to tell you everything that needs to be done. Because we have a clearing coming up here soon, and I think it's with a special needs person in the house. So in that case, I kind of just want to get rid of everything.
Yes.
As opposed to just getting rid of the negative. I'm thinking that it might be best just to get rid of everything. And since it's in Atchison, Kansas, which is one of the most haunted towns in the country,
right,
I think it's just best to get rid of all of it.
Get it gone.
Yep. And it just makes the most sense to me. And I've also told some of the people, I don't think, I'm not going up to investigate. I'm going up to clear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's what